Have you ever noticed that a narcissist often becomes the most dangerous not when they are succeeding, but when they realize they have completely lost control over you? The moment they understand they can no longer break your spirit, their behavior may become surprisingly unpredictable. Today, you will uncover the unsettling psychological tactics narcissists often use after they realize they can no longer manipulate, intimidate, or emotionally control you, and why recognizing these patterns can protect you from falling into their final trap. Many people assume a narcissist simply walks away once they fail. Nothing could be further from the truth. For many narcissistic personalities, losing control is not merely disappointing. It feels like a direct attack on the identity they have spent years carefully building. When manipulation stops working, they do not always give up. Instead, they frequently change their approach. What makes this especially dangerous is that many of these behaviors do not appear aggressive on the surface. Some seem charming, some appear generous, and others may even resemble genuine remorse. Yet beneath them often lies the very same objective: to regain power over someone who has stopped reacting. If you have ever wondered why someone's behavior became even more unusual after you finally established boundaries, stay with me until the end, because understanding these patterns could save you months or even years of emotional confusion. One of the most alarming moments in any relationship with a narcissistic person is not when they appear confident, powerful, or openly controlling. It is the moment they experience what psychologists often describe as a narcissistic injury. This occurs when something challenges the exaggerated image they have created of themselves. That challenge may come in the form of rejection, criticism, losing influence, or realizing that someone they once controlled is no longer emotionally available to them. To an outside observer, this may seem like a normal disappointment. To the narcissist, however, it feels far more profound. It is experienced as a threat to the identity they have spent years protecting. Unlike emotionally healthy individuals who can usually tolerate setbacks and grow from them, a narcissist often depends on external validation to maintain a fragile sense of self. They rely on admiration, attention, fear, or obedience from others to keep their inner insecurities hidden. When you stop providing those emotional resources, the carefully maintained image begins to crack. Your silence, your boundaries, your refusal to argue, or your decision to move forward without them sends a message they struggle to accept. They are no longer controlling the emotional environment. This is why many people are surprised when the narcissist's behavior actually becomes more intense after they begin healing. Rather than respecting your decision, the narcissist may become increasingly reactive. They may suddenly demand explanations, accuse you of being cruel, rewrite the history of the relationship, or insist that you have changed. These reactions are rarely about resolving conflict. They are attempts to restore the psychological balance that once favored them. The loss of control creates deep discomfort because it forces the narcissist to confront emotions they spend enormous amounts of energy trying to avoid. Feelings of shame, inadequacy, rejection, and vulnerability begin to rise beneath the confident exterior. Instead of acknowledging these emotions, they often project them onto others. They convince themselves that you are the problem, that you are unfair, selfish, or influenced by someone else. This psychological defense allows them to protect their self-image while avoiding genuine self-reflection. What makes this stage especially confusing is that the narcissist's behavior may become highly inconsistent. One day they may appear furious, sending hostile messages or making harsh accusations. The following day, they may seem calm, affectionate, or deeply apologetic. These dramatic changes are not necessarily signs of emotional growth. More often, they reflect desperation. Different strategies are tested one after another because the old methods of control are no longer producing the desired outcome. The underlying objective remains remarkably consistent: to regain emotional access to the person who has stopped validating their sense of superiority. For the person on the receiving end, this period can create intense self-doubt. The sudden escalation may lead you to question whether your boundaries were too harsh or whether you have somehow caused unnecessary pain. That uncertainty is exactly what makes narcissistic injury so powerful. It often shifts your attention away from your own healing and redirects it toward managing the narcissist's emotional reactions. Recognizing this pattern helps separate genuine accountability from manipulation, making it easier to understand that their escalating behavior is often driven by the loss of control rather than authentic remorse or meaningful personal change. When a narcissist realizes that their familiar methods of manipulation are no longer working, they often enter what can best be described as an escalation phase. Instead of accepting that another person has chosen healthier boundaries, they frequently increase the intensity of their behavior in an effort to regain the control they believe they have lost. This escalation is not random. It follows a predictable pattern rooted in the belief that if one tactic fails, a stronger one will eventually force the other person to respond. For someone who has never experienced this cycle, the sudden shift can feel shocking because the narcissist may appear far more determined and emotionally volatile than ever before. At first, they may simply become more persistent. They send repeated messages, invent reasons to contact you, or create situations that demand your attention. If those efforts are ignored, the behavior may become increasingly dramatic. They might accuse you of being heartless, claim that you abandoned them, or insist that you owe them another conversation. The goal is not necessarily to resolve the conflict, but to provoke any emotional reaction that proves they can still influence your thoughts and feelings. As frustration grows, intimidation may replace persuasion. Some narcissists begin making subtle threats, reminding you of private information they know, hinting that they could damage your reputation, or suggesting that mutual friends and family will hear a very different version of events. These statements are often carefully designed to create anxiety without appearing openly threatening. The uncertainty itself becomes another tool of manipulation, encouraging you to re-engage simply to prevent further conflict. Emotional attacks also become far more personal during this stage. The narcissist may criticize qualities they once praised, mock your accomplishments, question your intelligence, or attack your confidence in areas where you have always felt vulnerable. These remarks are rarely spontaneous. They often target insecurities the narcissist observed over months or even years of the relationship. By weakening your self-esteem, they hope you will become easier to influence once again. Another common tactic is creating emotional confusion through rapid shifts in behavior. One moment they may express intense rage, while the next they offer affection, apologies, or promises to change. This inconsistency leaves many people emotionally off balance because the brain naturally searches for stability and meaning. The constant alternation between kindness and hostility can make it difficult to trust your own judgment, leaving you to question whether the relationship is actually improving or quietly falling apart. The escalation phase usually continues only as long as the narcissist believes there is still a chance to regain control. Every emotional reaction, every argument, and every attempt to justify yourself can be interpreted as proof that their tactics are still working. This is why remaining calm and maintaining steady, consistent boundaries often feels so disturbing to a narcissist. When repeated manipulation, intimidation, and emotional attacks no longer create the response they expect, they are forced to face the reality that the dynamic they once dominated is no longer under their control, leaving them with far fewer ways to maintain the illusion of power they relied upon for so long. One of the most harmful things a narcissist may do once they realize they can no longer control you is attempt to control how other people perceive you. This is commonly known as a smear campaign, and it is one of the most emotionally draining experiences a person can endure. Rather than accepting the reality that you have established healthy boundaries or refuse to participate in unhealthy patterns, the narcissist begins creating a different version of events, one in which they become the victim and you become the problem. The objective is not merely to damage your reputation. It is to protect their carefully constructed public image while weakening your support network. A narcissist often recognizes that credibility is a source of power. If people believe your perspective, they are more likely to recognize manipulative behavior. If people begin questioning you instead, the narcissist regains influence without ever needing to change. This is why the stories they spread are often believable enough to create doubt rather than being obviously unbelievable. They may exaggerate genuine events, remove essential context, or combine small truths with major distortions. By mixing fact with fiction, they build narratives that become difficult to challenge because there is often a small piece of reality hidden inside the larger deception. The timing of a smear campaign is rarely random. It often begins after you establish firm boundaries, end the relationship, expose dishonest behavior, or stop reacting emotionally. From the narcissist's perspective, your independence threatens the version of themselves they want the world to see. By attacking your character first, they attempt to ensure that if you ever speak about your experiences, other people will already question your intentions or dismiss your concerns. These campaigns frequently target mutual friends, family members, co-workers, or anyone whose opinion carries importance in your life. The narcissist may present themselves as confused, heartbroken, or deeply worried about your behavior. They might suggest that you have become unstable, selfish, overly emotional, or influenced by the wrong people, because these conversations usually happen in private. Many victims never realize how extensively the narrative has been manipulated until they notice people treating them differently. One especially disturbing aspect of character assassination is that the narcissist may continue appearing kind, thoughtful, and reasonable in public while criticizing you behind closed doors. This contrast strengthens the illusion that they are the calm and rational individual while you are the source of every conflict. People who have only witnessed the narcissist's charming side may struggle to imagine a more manipulative reality, making the false narrative even more convincing. The emotional impact of this tactic can be extremely deep. Being misunderstood by people you once trusted often creates feelings of isolation, frustration, confusion, and helplessness. Many survivors experience an overwhelming desire to defend themselves, explain every accusation, or persuade everyone to believe the truth. While protecting your reputation is sometimes necessary, constantly chasing every rumor often draws you into the exact cycle the narcissist intended to create. Attention shifts away from their own behavior and toward your attempts to repair damage that should never have existed, allowing them to continue presenting themselves as the injured party while avoiding responsibility for the manipulation that started the entire situation. One of the most unsettling tactics narcissists frequently use when they can no longer control you is portraying themselves as the victim. Rather than acknowledging the pain they caused or the unhealthy patterns that contributed to the breakdown of the relationship, they reverse the roles entirely. Suddenly, the person who manipulated, criticized, ignored boundaries, or created emotional chaos begins telling others that they are the one who has been mistreated. This reversal is not simply about gaining sympathy. It is a deliberate attempt to protect their public image while recruiting other people to reinforce their version of reality. For a narcissist, maintaining the appearance of innocence is often far more important than resolving the real conflict. If they can persuade others that they were abandoned, betrayed, or unfairly rejected, they no longer need to examine their own behavior. Instead of asking why someone chose to distance themselves, they focus on creating a story that explains their loss of control without threatening their carefully protected self-image. Within that story, they become the misunderstood person who only wanted love, loyalty, understanding, or fairness, while you are portrayed as cold, unreasonable, selfish, or emotionally unstable. This false narrative is rarely shared with everyone in exactly the same way. Narcissists often modify their story depending on the audience. Family members may hear that you became disrespectful or ungrateful. Friends may be told that you suddenly changed without explanation. Coworkers might hear that you are difficult, dramatic, or impossible to satisfy. Every version is carefully tailored to match the beliefs and values of the people listening, making the story appear more believable and increasing the chances that others will take their side. Another reason this tactic becomes so effective is that most compassionate people naturally respond to someone who appears to be suffering. The narcissist may speak with visible emotion, describe carefully selected events that support their claims, or even express confusion about why you treated them the way you supposedly did. Because many listeners have never witnessed the private manipulation, gaslighting, emotional control, or psychological abuse, they often accept the story at face value. The narcissist's calm presentation frequently contrasts sharply with the emotional exhaustion experienced by the real victim, making appearances incredibly misleading. Once enough people begin believing this version of events, the narcissist gains something they value deeply: validation. Every expression of sympathy reassures them that their carefully maintained image remains protected. At the same time, they may encourage others to distance themselves from you, question your character, doubt your motives, or pressure you into reconnecting. Some individuals become what psychologists often refer to as flying monkeys, unknowingly delivering messages, repeating accusations, spreading misinformation, or attempting to convince you that the narcissist deserves another opportunity. These people may genuinely believe they are helping because they have only been given one carefully edited version of the story. They have not witnessed the hidden manipulation, the emotional control, or the repeated cycles that took place behind closed doors. As a result, they sincerely believe they are encouraging reconciliation when, in reality, they are reinforcing the narcissist's strategy. The emotional burden of being falsely portrayed can become overwhelming. You may feel a powerful urge to defend yourself, explain every detail, answer every accusation, or prove that the claims being made against you are false. Although those feelings are completely understandable, it is important to recognize that narcissists often rely on this exact response. The more energy you spend trying to correct every misunderstanding, the more attention shifts away from their behavior and toward the conflict they intentionally created. In many cases, your greatest strength is not winning every argument, but remaining grounded in the truth, maintaining healthy boundaries, and allowing consistent actions over time to reveal the reality that false stories can never permanently hide. Yet, every effort you make to explain yourself can become another chance for the narcissist to accuse you of being defensive, argumentative, obsessed, or attempting to damage their image. This endless cycle keeps your attention trapped in proving your side against false accusations, instead of giving yourself the opportunity to heal, grow, and develop the quiet confidence that comes from understanding that your reality does not require validation from someone else. Before moving forward, if you are dedicated to understanding manipulation, protecting your emotional well-being, and identifying unhealthy relationship patterns before they have the power to pull you back in, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment the word boundary below. That single word represents something many narcissists struggle to honor and something every survivor deserves to build stronger within themselves. One of the most confusing moments after escaping a relationship with a narcissist is when they suddenly appear to become the person you always wished they would be. After weeks, months, or even years of criticism, emotional neglect, manipulation, and disrespect, they may unexpectedly contact you with warmth, kindness, and what seems like genuine sincerity. They may apologize for behaviors they once completely rejected, talk about how much they have changed, and remind you of the beautiful memories you once created together. This sudden transformation can feel like evidence that they have finally understood your value and recognized the importance of the relationship. In many situations, however, this behavior can be part of what is known as hoovering, an attempt to draw someone back into an emotional connection after they have started creating distance. The term reflects the idea of pulling someone back into a dynamic they worked hard to escape. The narcissist recognizes that intimidation, criticism, and control are no longer creating the reaction they once received. Because of this, they may choose another approach. Instead of creating fear, they create hope. Instead of starting conflict, they offer comfort. Instead of weakening your confidence, they temporarily make you feel valued again. The purpose is not always true reconciliation based on genuine responsibility, but rather regaining access to the emotional influence and attention they once had. These attempts often begin with messages that appear innocent and harmless. They may ask how you have been doing, bring up a memory that once made both of you happy, or say they thought about you because something reminded them of your time together. Sometimes they send thoughtful gifts, write emotional messages, or talk about how much personal growth they have experienced. They may admit to mistakes they previously refused to accept and promise that everything will be different this time. Because these behaviors can look similar to healthy relationship repair, they can be extremely difficult to judge clearly. The important difference is that real change is demonstrated through consistent actions over time, not emotional promises made during a moment of fear or desperation. Genuine accountability means accepting responsibility without excuses, respecting boundaries, even when those boundaries are uncomfortable, and recognizing that forgiveness cannot be forced, rushed, or demanded. Hoovering, on the other hand, often becomes strongest when the narcissist realizes they are losing their emotional control. The timing itself can reveal a lot. Their sudden affection often appears only after you stop pursuing them, stop engaging in arguments, or begin rebuilding your life without depending on them. Another powerful part of hoovering is the use of nostalgia. The narcissist may repeatedly highlight vacations, celebrations, private jokes, and moments when you felt deeply connected while ignoring or minimizing the manipulation, disrespect, and emotional confusion that were also part of the relationship. This selective focus on positive memories can make you question whether the painful experiences were truly as serious as you remember. Over time, the human mind naturally holds on to positive memories more strongly than periods of emotional stress, which makes this tactic especially effective. Some narcissists also use guilt as a way to reconnect. They may describe themselves as lonely, hurt, misunderstood, or unable to move forward without you. They may suggest that giving them another opportunity is the kind and compassionate thing to do, indirectly making you feel cruel or unforgiving if you refuse. These emotional appeals can activate your empathy and cause you to focus more on reducing their suffering rather than questioning whether the deeper behaviors that damaged the relationship have actually been changed through long-term accountability and consistent actions. Not every narcissist reacts to losing control through obvious arguments or dramatic confrontations. Some use much quieter methods that can be equally harmful emotionally. Instead of openly attacking, they rely on silence, unpredictability, and confusion to keep you mentally focused on them. These behaviors are designed to create uncertainty, causing you to doubt your own understanding of situations and encouraging you to search for answers that they intentionally refuse to provide. The result is a pattern where your thoughts remain centered around them, even when they offer very little communication. One common strategy is silent punishment, often referred to as the silent treatment. Instead of openly discussing a disagreement, the narcissist suddenly removes warmth, attention, and communication. Messages remain unanswered, conversations become distant, and normal signs of affection disappear without explanation. This is different from taking healthy space to calm down or process emotions after conflict. Healthy distance is communicated respectfully and has a clear purpose. Silent punishment, however, is designed to create anxiety, guilt, and a strong desire to restore the connection according to the narcissist's conditions. As the silence continues, many people begin searching for explanations. They replay conversations in their minds, analyze every message they sent, and wonder if they caused the sudden change. The narcissist often relies on this reaction. When you become consumed with solving the mystery, your emotional energy moves away from your own healing and toward trying to regain their approval. Even when they appear to be doing nothing, they can still maintain influence over your thoughts and emotions. Another powerful tactic is inconsistency. A narcissist may switch between affection and emotional distance without warning. One day they may appear caring, responsive, and completely engaged. The next day, they may become cold, unavailable, or disconnected. Because these changes happen unpredictably, your mind and emotions struggle to understand what will happen next. This uncertainty can create a powerful attachment because people naturally search for stability and may work harder to regain moments of warmth after experiencing rejection. They may also create confusion through mixed signals. A loving statement may be followed by criticism. A promise to reconnect may suddenly disappear. They might interact with your social media while ignoring your attempts to communicate or suggest that they miss you while continuing behaviors that push you away. These contradictions keep your mind engaged because the brain naturally tries to make sense of information that does not seem to match. Another part of these emotional games is selective communication. The narcissist may avoid responding to important questions while quickly engaging with topics that serve their own interests. They control when conversations begin, when they stop,